All right, so I want to bring something to the table that's a little bit more, um, I guess, an unbiased approach to a topic because it's not focusing, I guess it's focusing on something that a lot of people or a lot of influencers or a lot of just people on the side that you would usually think are doing things that are logical and reasonable. It's a more conservative idea, um, but it's kind of like I want to not shed light on something, but I kind of want to discuss something that I I don't really like. That's kind of not a big deal. It's not a big deal at all, really, but it can kind of become one. Um, so to quit my ramblings and to just get to the point of what I'm saying. So, if you've been watching my videos, and you've been following the topics that I discuss, then it's mainly you see which side of the dividing line that I'm kind of um, stationed in, and that I speak primarily uh, from. So I'm probably a little bit more conservative, or although I do lean liberal with some things. I probably haven't spoken about those things, like my what do you call it? Like what I think about, you know, life, pro life and pro choice. Like I'm all for pro life, but then again, there are certain situations where I do believe in pro choice. Not all, but certain situations, and I have spoken on that in videos in the past. So if you haven't seen those, check those out. But in any case, I want to speak on a topic that is probably not spoken about, or maybe it is. I just haven't seen a video on it, but I just wanted to get into it and discuss the sensationalization of doomsday prophecies and things like that. Nothing in particular, but just, like you have someone, an influencer or whoever, YouTube person or social media um, creator, and they're creating content, conservative content, um, content that's, logical, reasonable, and everything that you would traditionally agree with if you're on the side of, conservative, or maybe um, you identify as a Republican, or maybe you identify as something else that's not in the on the liberal side, or maybe you're just kind of in the middle, but you watch those videos sometimes. Anyway, I wanted to speak on that because I think that that is something that the side really goes into deeply, and I'm thinking mainly it's something that, like, if you watch Fox News, they do that a lot. And I kind of had to stop watching so much of it because it just seemed to be like really sensationalizing. Like, Fox News is probably like the CNN of the conservative. If we had more, I guess, if the conservative side had more news outlets, like it's very sensationalized. Um, for views, for ratings, of course, they have to stay in business, but at the same time, it's kind of like, is every single video going to be this whole doomsday prophecy? And I'm not, and excuse me, I'm not saying that nothing is happening. There's this whole boiling frog effect going on, and it's taking time to really see the effects of certain things not being fulfilled that originally would have been prior to 2020, and COVID doing a whole lot of supply chain, messing up a whole lot of things. Um, a lot of things have happened, and of course, there's a cause and effect. So I'm not sitting up here saying, oh, everything's fine. Let's not have a conversation about it. Let's not talk about it. What I'm saying is, let's not always sensationalize things. And I know that that's not something that can always be done, because if you're in the business of you need views to sustain yourself and keep your business going, then obviously that's not something that you want to do. But for people who are, trying to get the word out, and they're just trying to um, bring information to people, I don't think you need to sensationalize things. Like, there's a YouTuber, I'm not going to talk about like who they are, but they sensationalize something. They even went as far as they fabricated some information. And I've seen a few others do that. You don't need to fabricate information. I've seen people in the comment section even comment on this. Why would you go so far as to lie? Like, that's usually something that's only designated for the other side, because it's lies, it's emotion, it's confusion, it's projection. That's what they do. Like, if you're a logical thinker, you're more on the conservative side, you're not trying to subscribe to that. So why would you subscribe to that? I really don't see the logic in it unless it's for views. Um, so that's like the main point that I want to bring up. And I really feel like, eventually we're going to start seeing the fruits of the rotten fruits of, the effed up labors that were and crimes that were committed. People couldn't do certain things because they didn't take certain things, yada yada. Um, so that's eventually going to come out. There's no way it can't. As I said, cause and effect. It's going to be naturally occurring. Just understand that it's a process. And another thing before I go, it's just the fact that also people still have to work. People still have to work. They still have to pay their bills. They still have to live life just like it's prior to 2020. Nothing has shaken up the world enough that we're all living in Mad Max Fury Road right now. Even though some of us understand that things are really bad and basically this place is falling apart while we're standing in it. It hasn't fallen apart yet. It's still held together by a few flimsy pieces, and we're trying to maintain this facade like everything's fine, this farce, like everything um, is fine and dandy, but it's really not, and it is very frustrating. I do feel the frustration of trying to act like things are normal when they're not. Understanding, when you're being gaslit by your society and entities that you would have trust prior to 2020, or prior to, whenever you research something and you found out, wow, this is really bad. Like, people are straight up lying and information is being stripped off the internet, doctored up, you know, um, basic common sense and basic knowledge of scientific processes aren't being followed. Um, so yeah, I understand the frustration, and we're still humans. We need to have some sort of balance. We can't go too far to the left and too far to the right. It's just impossible. We have to maintain some sort of homeostasis in order to keep going with our life and keep being strong, because you're not the only one that needs you to be strong. Other people around you, friends, family members, co-workers, um, everyone has to kind of support everyone else with everything that we're going through. So that's something that, if you really want to think about, if you're trying to just sensationalize for views, or if you actually are trying to get information out to people for their own benefit. Like, that's something I guess you have to do some soul searching on. But for me, I really want to, maintain as much stress free of an environment as I can. So, yeah. And I think everybody would agree with that sentiment. I know there are those of us on the front lines, and you're fighting this fight, and you're doing it with your job, with your work, with your what's the word? Job, work, and your free time, and it's everything, and you're there, and you're probably looking at everybody else still going to work, like, why aren't you doing that? Well, people got to work. We need money. Not all of us can be influencers. Not all of us can be out there on the front lines fighting the good fight. Um, it's just everybody has their part to play in this. So you can only do what you can do. Try as hard as you can to do what you can. If you find out information, share it with somebody. You don't have to be a person that's a big influencer with all these views and all these supporters and all these subscribers. You can get a little bit of information out, pass it on, talk to somebody about what's going on, let them know about information you found out. Try to as I said, talk to people and just see what they're talking about, and just have a conversation. You might talk to somebody who's you don't agree with, but you can still just have a conversation about something, and then both go off on your separate ways. Maybe you've learned something from one from the other. But in any case, I see that as basically that was my point. I just wanted to bring that up and shed some light on that topic, which was the sensationalization of these doomsday prophetic, um, I guess, countdown prophecies. That's it.